We took on Tennessee and Whisky. They were in a smaller paddock. What was their diet before they came to us?
We were told that they were on pony pellets, which is more or less just a filler, and biomare, which obviously biomare is normally given to mares who are pregnant, so it's high in all the things that they need, and it can be good for horses that aren't pregnant as well. I would assume that they gave them hay, but I don't believe they would have given them much because they're pretty skinny when they came to us,
Yes.
especially Tennessee. And I know that Tennessee was contained in a small pallet yard with nothing.
But yeah, that's what makes it so important. If you don't have an adequate amount of grass in your paddock for your horses, like if you are not able to, theoretically, if you were to bale up all of the grass in your paddock, if you weren't able to get a bale every single day, then you need to be giving your horse hay. And if you have your horse in a small yard, they need to be getting at least half a bale of hay a day.
So they need to sort of be eating quite regularly. It's
Yes, horses need to be eating at least 22 hours out of the day, I believe. They're grazers. You know, it's kind of in the name. They graze.
So tell us about their diet now. Are they being fed twice a day?
Twice a day they get hard fed. We've changed their diet completely. So now they're on zero.
High gain zero.
High gain zero. We initially tried to get them onto, Speedy Beat and lupins, because that's good for the weight. And that's what we used for Moses, and he just went so well on that diet.
And that's Romeo's bulking diet.
Yeah.
Mad calories in that, bro.
Soak it for breakfast. It's a bit like oats.
Yeah.
You could?
You could, actually.
Could you actually eat it?
It's high protein. Well, it's literally like a bean. It's a type of bean.
Yeah.
There you go. Who knew?
Me.
You even surprised yourself.
For breakfast, it's a bit like oats.
Yeah.
You could?
You could, actually.
But with Speedy Beat and ground lupins, they need to be soaked. So initially we did try that, and those little ponies refused to eat.
No, because they'd never had wet feed in their lives, so they had no idea what to do with it.
They just would not touch it. So then we went to biomare and high gain zero, because high gain zero is what Romeo, Luna, Peggy and Marbly are on, and they're doing really well off that.
Usually you feed it wet, but I did some research and you can feed it dry.
Why are you putting high gain zero on Peggy?
Oh, she only gets a handful because she's got to have a...
That's why she's fat.
So it's not just about putting weight on, it's also making sure they've got the right nutrition.
Yep. So they have high gain zero, which is a complete feed. They also have, I'm giving them like a half scoop just because of their low weight of like a supplement.
A mineral mix.
A mineral mix.
Fos mix, I think it's called.
Yeah.
How great is it?
Oh, it's done wonders with them. They're really healthy.
One of our favourite supplements to feed, and it keeps our horses' coats and just overall health so top tier, and we always get compliments on it. But that's our secret ingredient, the Fos mix. And
that goes hand in hand with the ground linseed. It gives them a beautiful coat.
That also works wonders.
And
it's our
high
second secret ingredient.
So for every horse, you ground linseed
or flaxseed, whatever you want to call it.
And then so you ground it every day.
Yeah. And with that, it has to be eaten within 2 hours. Otherwise, it oxidizes and it's of no nutritional value.
Yeah, so people who are going out and buying like pre-ground linseed, I hate to break it to you, but it does not have anywhere near the same nutritional value, unfortunately, and you're being scammed.
Right, so is that everything they have then?
And salt?
Yes, they have salt thrown in, and we were giving them chaff as just like a filler, but not anymore.
And so they have that twice a day, both of them.
twice a day until they get out with the big horses and the big paddock.
And then they won't be getting the half a biscuit of hay every day each, which means we go through a bale of hay a day, which
I know.
those out there who have horses and, buy hay bales will know how painful that is to be doing.
$24.
24?
Yeah, roundabouts.
So
I'd say
$24
27.
Between
between 24 and
27.
$27 a day just on hay.
Yeah.
It's
Insane and it hurts, and we're all looking forward to getting them out into the big paddock so that doesn't have to happen anymore.
because there's a lot of food out in the paddocks, isn't there?
Yeah, we actually have Rhodes grass out there, which I don't know if you're familiar with Rhodes hay, but it's really good for them, helps fatten them up, and it's very nutritious grass for them to have. And there's, half of the 50-acre property is covered in it, so about 25 acres of Rhodes grass.
So when they leave the paddocks after that 6-week stint in the in their yards, right now in the yards they get half a bale of hay each a day. So it's half a bale of hay, and then they get 2 hard feeds a day. How will that change? Will they get hay, or will the amount of food they get still be the same, but over 1 or 2 feeds?
It'll be halved, so they'll get their 1 feed a day.
Will it be the same quantity as a 1 feed?
Yes.
They'll get half the feed they normally.
Yeah.
But they will be out on the grass, which is constant forage.
Yeah.
Which means obviously we don't have to feed them hay. And the reason that a horse needs constant forage is so that their gut doesn't build up in acid and they don't colic or anything like that, because they need to be eating.
It's important that, like, if you are reducing their feed, which we will be, you keep an eye on their weight.
Yes.
Because if we do notice that their weight is dropping,
We will up their feed.
we will have to up their hard feed.
However, I think they will be consuming more than
they'll be
enough
fine.
on the grass.
Yeah.
Plus, someone's developed a little bit of a tummy. Whisky.
Is Whisky a bit fat?
Yes. Yes.
He's got a nice round belly. He looks
He's
good.
he's not fat though.
No, he's not bad.
You can still kind of see his ribs.
No,
He's
but
not
Yes,
near
you
as
can.
fat as
He's got
Peggy.
he's got a bit of a belly though.
Yeah, he's not fat though.
Well, I'd say he probably needs to lose a little bit of weight.
No, he doesn't.
Yes.
Look, you can see his ribs.
No, you can't.
Yes, you can.
No, you can't.
Yes, you can.
Just but he needs to lose a little bit of weight. He's got a tummy.
So, folks, this is what we have to contend with.
We could just.
So your solution is to shoot him.
Yeah. Well, the other ones wouldn't work. I worked very hard to get all these horse-related sounds.
What's that?
How is
This-
that?
That's a horse.
That's not a horse.
I want to talk about food aggression in horses. I know that you used to have some problems with Peggy. How have these horses gone with their food aggression? And what is food aggression in horses? Oh, so Dana, you got a bit of attitude there from Whisky. What happened?
He's just really hungry. Hangry. Bit like Jasper.
And how important is it sort of to teach them to behave themselves when they're eating, even if they've got a justified reason to be hungry?
One day he'll be, I don't know, maybe between 500 and 600 kilos possibly. So you don't want that coming at you. Down the road.
But they come a long way, eh?
They've come really, really far. So far. So proud of them. And proud of Jazz and Jasper for the work they've put in. When horses are out in a herd, they will, I guess, fight to be the alpha horse. And the alpha horse will
Big boss.
always, sorry?
The big boss.
The big boss man will
Okay.
always take the feed. If there's feed there, he will go and have it first. And if someone comes and challenges him, then they could have a bit of a tussle, and whoever wins that becomes the alpha horse. So with food aggression, what we've got is a horse that sees us as part of their herd, and they're saying, move off. This is my food when you come into the paddock with it. And so with Peggy, because we were quite inexperienced, we would put it down and run just about, because she would come charging up with her ears down.
Teeth bared.
She was scary, and her eyes would roll back, and she was
She
awful.
has the picture perfect mare face.
Yep. She's pretty scary.
And with Marbley, we had issues with Marbley.
Yeah, Marbley as well. He was like that. So we had to work very, very hard with Peggy Sue. We got advice from horse people who said, go in with a
I think,
what do you call them?
Think the a lunge whip.
No, they said one of those.
The pipes.
Yeah, the pipes.
Polypipe.
A polypipe. They said go in with a polypipe, because that will make like a big noise if you do contact her, or you can contact the ground, and that should do it. But I never got my hands on a polypipe. We ended up getting a lunge whip. And over time, she has learnt to give me that space. So now I can walk in, I ask her to back up, she backs up, she waits. She'll look at, when she looks away, it's showing me that she's being submissive to that and accepted that. And then I'll walk away to say, it's yours. And she'll come and get it.
I wouldn't agree with that, actually.
You want to fight?
Yeah.
You do want to fight?
I don't think the looking away is in any way submissive. I think that's a human quality that we've pushed onto our horses.
Do you just?
I do.
Okay.
I think it's just that we've taught them they don't get the food until they look away. Because a horse wouldn't go up to another horse and look away and then get the food.
No, but they do.
Compliant is probably the right
It
word.
just shows
they
that
do
she's being
avoid
compliant.
eye contact. Like you won't have, say, Moses staring at Marbley. Marbley will look at him and he'll like look away and then leave.
I think he just gets chased away.
You lose.
I don't think that happens. No, I wouldn't agree that it's a submissive thing. I think it's just like a trained.
Well, let's try and get a video of this behaviour.
Yep.
Because they don't do it like when Peggy does it, she does it with a certain intensity. Like she's going, I'm so hungry.
Oh yeah, well that's learnt now because we practiced it a lot.
Jasper, how have you found feeding Whisky, and have you noticed any of those bullying or dominating behaviours from Whisky?
Well, at first I was just going up to him with feed and getting him to back up and putting it down. He was doing good with that. He started to get a bit pushy. Mum told me to just put it behind me, get them to back up and then look away, and then I could let him in. He was doing that for a bit, and then one day he reared up, which wasn't great behaviour. So I kind of chased him around the paddock a bit and then let him have his food. And ever since then he hasn't reared up, but he has every now and then kind of pushed in a bit. But right now he's good.
So how
He's getting
close were
better.
you, and what happened when he reared up?
Well, this is when this is when I was going up to him with feed and getting him to back up. And then I would put it down, and then he could only have it once I walked away. So I would have to stick by it until he walked away and not let him have it when I'm there. And then he was getting impatient and he kind of reared up. I was like less than a meter away. It was a little rear, but I just chased him around and that was it.
But rearing is a very serious behavioural issue, and it's not to be taken lightly, however small it is.
And it wasn't. It was addressed.
And I think,
It was addressed.
Yeah, he hasn't done it since, so Jasper did a great job.
But yeah, just as like
Yeah, as a rule.
as a rule, if your horse rears, don't take it lightly. Get out of the way if you're in danger. Do not fight a horse that's 10 times your size and your
He's
weight
like-
and so much stronger than you. Like, you're not going to win that fight. But measures need to be taken to address that behaviour, because it is not safe and it should never be tolerated.
If you nip it on the butt while he's younger, when he's older, it's not going to happen. Hey,
I saw this thing where this guy who like breeds like foals and whatnot professionally, like he's a stud guy, that he goes in and he picks up the foals every day until he can't lift them anymore, and that they remember that when they're older. I was like, are you serious? Does this actually work?
Sounds good.
You just because he said apparently they don't understand that just because they're bigger doesn't mean he can't do it anymore. So in their heads they're going, "Oh, don't mess around with that guy."
and
He'll
that's
pick
why.
you up.
That's why when you're halter breaking a horse, or say you're lunging it, and if it pulls away, and if you let go, they learn that they are strong.
So then that pathway is reaffirmed every time you let it happen.
Yeah.
So,
And so that's what they'll do. Oh, if I pull or rear and that
and I get what I want.
and that pressure is released, I've done my job. So I'll keep doing it every single time. So you've got to be really careful just to hang on there. And when you're hanging on to a horse, if you're hanging on to like you're facing it, it's got a lot more strength going that way. If you can get to the side, you've got a lot more leeway to play with.
So, yeah, you're never going to win a tug of war with a horse head on. So if you can get to its shoulder and pull from that direction, you're more likely to at least sort of interrupt that behavior enough for them to settle.
We had a disagreement on what looking away means. What does pawing at food and kicking over the bucket mean? Does it mean anything, or is it?
I think it's impatience.
Yeah. So,
just want to get to something quickly.
Yeah, it's kind of just like there's a lot of feelings being felt for this food, and it's a way of getting those feelings out. It's some people hate it actually. Like some people won't buy a horse if it paws when it eats, even though it's not necessarily that problematic of a behavior. They're literally just feeling. Like it's like a self-soothing thing.
My question is, why we have 7 horses now? Every single one of them has a different diet.
No,
not Luna,
Luna
and
Marbly have the exact same diet.
And so does Peggy.
So does
really,
Peggy, but just in a small
Okay,
amount.
so let me reframe that. We have a variety of diets for different horses. Why?
So different horses need different things. Different breeds need different things. Thoroughbreds are typically harder to put weight on and keep weight on. Luna is fabulous at keeping weight on, but she's hell to put weight on. So she can keep it, but it's hard to get her up there. So when or if she loses condition, it takes a long time for her to get her back. Romeo, he's with putting weight on, but he's a bit more with keeping it on. So he needs like a constant higher calorie, higher energy, higher everything sort of feed, higher fats and whatnot. And then Moses, obviously he came to us really skinny, and you can't feed a horse a whole bunch straight off the bat. We had to slowly build it up.
He's got a very simplified diet.
Yes, it's a very simple, like, revert back to your roots type of thing. It's like an old reliable diet, and it works wonders. It's really good, and
with what works with him.
Gentle on their stomach, but it's high in protein and high in healthy fats and high in energy and everything. So it works for him, and he has that. Additionally, it is also a grain-free diet. So both Romeo and Moses have... Well, we haven't really confirmed it with Moses, have we?
No, but likely because he's
because he's raced and is a wind sucker. He has an acidic gut, which means he could be prone to ulcers. If you have a horse that's prone to ulcers, then you want them to have a grain-free diet. Otherwise, they can develop ulcers, which then affect their overall condition and their behaviors and their overall happiness. So Romeo is very strictly on a grain-free diet because he is very sensitive to ulcers. And then Moses is on a grain-free diet just as a precaution because he has raced and he's a wind sucker, and because he was in such a bad state for so long, it is likely that if he had like a high grain feed that he would get an acidic stomach and develop ulcers. And then Marbly is a little bit touch and go with the ulcers. I don't really know.
When we first got him,
When we first got him,
we
he
thought he had
was.
them, and we put him through a bit of a treatment with them. But he, I think those are
come
pretty
right,
resolved.
Yeah, and he's on a High Gain Zero is grain free, and it's a really good feed. It's just he gets one scoop of it. So does Luna. They're on the same feed, and
they've got enough forage.
Yeah,
Like if we didn't have enough forage, would increase it, because I think
Yeah.
the recommended amount is 2 kilograms, which would be about 2 scoops. But they don't need that. And we just make sure we put that supplement in, the Fosmix, to make sure that all of their vitamin and mineral intake is correct.
Yes. And then when feeding as well, with the 2 kilograms being the recommended weight, it's also recommended that you don't feed your horse over 3 kilograms of, so before you add water, if it's over 3 kilograms dry, then your horse isn't going to be able to process all of it, and it won't be able to get all the nutrients from it, so you'd kind of just be wasting feed. So if you're having to feed over 3 kilos to keep weight on, you need to split it into 2 separate feeds, or if it's that bad, into 3 separate feeds. It really depends on the horse and their metabolism and their breeding and their genetics and their gut health, and whether they wind suck or not, whether they are old. If they're old, that's a big one.
Yep. If we lived on a property with the horses, we would definitely be feeding them twice a day.
For sure, just because it's better for their digestion
and nutritional uptake. But it is very tiring going twice a day.
Yes.
Yep.
And if we do go twice a day currently, but if
moment.
we were to feed all of them twice a day, that'd be like 5 hours spent out at the paddock. Like,
Without
like
riding.
we love them. Yeah, that doesn't include riding. We love them, but it's just like we've got lives.
Yeah, apparently. So what do people do if they're in doubt? Who should they be, like, where should they get the advice from? And
there's so much out there.
so
Like,
much.
it's really overwhelming. So I'd say if you're struggling to find a feed, talk to your vet. A vet that you have used for a while, preferably, that knows your horse. And they will either sort of refer you on to someone that they believe will be able to give you good advice, or they will give you like a rough plan. However, if you're looking specifically for like a really simple one, we would highly recommend Speedy Beat and cracked lupins or whole lupins. It's just an old reliable feed, and it's really easy, and most horses seem to really like it as well, so it's good for fussy eaters. It's the palatable feed.
But it has to be soaked for at least 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's the end of this little chat. Thanks, guys, and we'll get back. It's raining today.
Yeah,
So it'll be a wet day out of the horses again.
had a lot of those lately.
So we do actually have some experience in rehabilitating some seriously bad cases of malnourishment in horses. We have rehabilitated a horse who had a body score of 1, which, if you are unfamiliar with how body scoring works with horses, 1 is very, very bad, like on death's door sort of skinny. And we have rehabilitated him ourselves, like completely by ourselves. And he is absolutely flourishing. He's put on so much weight, so much muscle. He's such a happy horse now. And so obviously putting on weight with these guys is not going to be as drastic as the weight that we had to put on him. His name is Moses. You will find him on my page at Little Red Riding Hood if you're interested in his story. So yeah, obviously this isn't going to be as drastic as what we did with him. However, these horses still do need some weight put on them. And so we are going to be feeding them almost the same thing as what we fed him. We're just going to dial it back a bit. What we're going to be feeding is actually one of my favorite combinations of feed. So here I have half of a small scoop of Speedy Beat. Speedy Beat, I love Speedy Beat. I think that it works an absolute gem. It's very, very good for horses. It's very gentle on their stomachs. It's good to introduce it to horses who maybe are suffering from malnutrition. We've always just found that it works really, really well with putting weight on, and it's always been really gentle on their stomach, so it doesn't give them the runs. It's just a really reliable feed. So they will be getting 1/2 scoop of the Speedy Beat to start off with. 1/2 little scoop, might I add. This is a normal size scoop, which has 1/2 a scoop of cracked lupins. Cracked lupins is also one of my favorite feeds to give. Whole lupins are good too. They're just a little bit inconvenient because you do have to soak them, but they are definitely worth feeding. However, we'll be giving cracked lupins because it's more convenient and less time consuming. Cracked lupins, they are full of protein, very good for the horses, and will help add muscle on once they put on the weight, and it will really just help keep their condition up as much as possible. So we'll be adding 1/2 scoop of the cracked lupins. Okay, next up, we'll be giving them a 1/2 cup of our favorite mineral mix, which is Fos Mix. We love this stuff. It helps their coat be nice and healthy, helps their skin, it helps their gut health. Just overall, it's a really good all-round mineral mix. So we will be adding that to their feed as well. Next up, we have another really important addition, which is not to be overlooked, trusty salt. Now, this is your usual cooking salt that you kind of just get from the grocery store. We're just going to do a small handful, maybe even like a 1/2 handful. I don't know if you can see that. Chuck it in. Salt is very beneficial for horses, especially during these hotter months where they're going to be sweating out a lot of their own salt. Last but not least, we have rice bran oil. Again, this is the rice bran oil that you kind of just get at the grocery stores. You can get this from like Real Supplies and feed stores. However, it is a lot more expensive and it is a lot easier to just get from the grocery store. So if you're on a budget, I recommend doing that. Anyhow, we will not be feeding loads of this because you don't really need to. We'll just give a tiny little pour like that, and one in here. And now that has a lot of nice healthy fats in it, and that will help fatten them up and put on some weight. Rice bran oil, underrated. It's very, very handy in putting on weight. So I almost forgot. There is one more little bit that we're adding to their feed, and that is some handy dandy linseed or flaxseed. It goes by either name.